This week on GC Unboxing, it's wheels. Happy days. I love a pair of wheels. Who doesn't love a pair of wheels, in fact? These ones are particularly nice, I assure you. Brand new from DT Swiss. Now, as ever with GC Unboxing, you can win whatever we unbox. So if you fancy a set of these, then stay tuned because I'm going to tell you how you can enter the competition in a little bit. For now, though, I think we need to see what's inside. Oh. Ooh, look at that. This is the DT Swiss ARC 1100. Or to give it its full name, the ARC 1100 DiCUT DB80. Rest assured, DT Swiss have a lot of data to show that this wheel rolls a heck of a lot faster than the name does. But there is also a good reason why it's called that. So let me explain. ARC refers to the rim level in the DT Swiss range, with this one being the very top. Then 1100 refers to the level of the hub in the DT Swiss range, with, funnily enough, this one being top of the range. Then DiCUT refers to the innovative spoke hub interface. And then 80, well, 80 makes complete sense. 80 refers to the rim depth, with this one being the deepest and most aerodynamic in the ARC range of 3 different wheel sets. When I say that these are DT Swiss's top of the range wheels, you know that means a lot because they make some great products. They actually started out making only spokes, and I gather you can trace the company roots right back to making wire in 1634. Not terribly relevant for this video, I grant you, but still a good fact for you. Now, the DT Swiss that we know today started in 1994, where they took on the mantle of Swiss spoke maker deluxe, and actually they sell millions of the things every year. In 1995, we saw the first DT Swiss hubs with the now legendary 36-tooth ratchet freewheels. Now, I'll confess that when I dream about the noise of freewheels, because, you know, sometimes I do, this is the sound they make. Right, enough of the history lesson. These ARC wheels are about as forward-facing as it gets. Now, DT Swiss actually partnered up with aerodynamics experts, Swiss side. Now, they partnered up with him to actually create the whole wheel set. Now, I think it's the rim that dominates our attention first, so let's start with it, shall we? You can see by the lack of any brake track that these are the disc brake versions, but actually the disc and the rim brake wheels share exactly the same rim profile. Now that is a very good thing because the rim to tyre interface, where the brake track is or would be, is actually one of the most important parts of ensuring the stability of the wheel set in gusty crosswinds. And so both of them share exactly the same DNA. They've created a wheel with a baseline drag of just 13.9 watts. But then as you turn the wheel slightly into the wind, so increasing what's called the yaw angle, these bad boys actually turn into sails. They create negative drag or forward thrust of 8 watts. Yeah, that's right. And they haven't gone for a super duper wide rim to achieve this, but the internal rim width, importantly, is a nice roomy 17 millimeters. Interestingly though, DT Swiss say that a 23mm wide tyre is actually fractionally quicker on these wheels than a 25mm wide tyre, but the fraction is just 0.3 of a watt. So you'd imagine then that the improved rolling resistance of a wider tyre would more than offset it in most situations. Now, all of that data, by the way, was gathered at the GST wind tunnel in Germany, and the tests were done at 45 kilometers per hour. Aero, though, definitely is not just about the rim profile. For a start, the hub has been changed from the standard DiCUT version to this aero one. And that saves 0.4 watts or 2.5%. But then we're starting to get on to the really clever bit. DT Swiss looked at the drag numbers and figured that there might be something missing. Because of the ways in which bikes are tested, you only, so they say, ever see figures for translational drag. So that's the force that actually slows a rider down as they move through the air. So what's missing, therefore, is rotational drag. So they invented a rig to isolate it and then test for it. And what they found was that it's actually pretty significant. It makes up 25% of a wheel's total drag. How do you reduce that number? Well, the first thing you do is you hide the spoke nipples. That saves a watt, or 8% of the total. And then you optimize the spoke profiles. It actually saves about 1 watt. If you look closely, I mean really closely, you'll see the cross-sectional profile of the spoke actually changes as you go from hub to rim. And that's because the relative velocity of the spoke changes the further from the center of rotation that you go. So closest to the hub then, where the spoke moves forward in the slowest speed, but actually goes backwards at the fastest speed relative to the ground, the spoke is a symmetrical elliptical shape, so kind of aerodynamic in both directions. However, closest to the rim, where it goes forward really fast, but then actually goes backward at the same speed as the ground, so relatively slowly, it's actually a standard airfoil shape, so really aerodynamic, but only in one direction. So whichever way you look at it then, these sound like super fast wheels, but that's not all there is to them. Going back to the hubs, they've actually got sink ceramic bearings in that are unique to DT Swiss. They've got their own proprietary coating on there, and similarly, their own super low friction seals apparently. Then, sticking with the hubs for a minute, you'll see, if you look closely, that spoke to hub interface I was talking about earlier on. So they're straight pull spokes, so there's no bend or what's called elbow in them, so that should make for a stiffer wheel. But then they've got their own unique head on there, so that's like a T-shape, and apparently it helps to resist torsional flex. There are 24 spokes in this front wheel, and also 24 spokes in the back wheel as well. The rim is tubeless compatible, you can see it's already sealed. What about the weights? Well, 840 grams for the front. I'm not weighing it now, by the way, I'm not that good. And 960 grams for the rear. So pretty competitive for super aero deep wheels like these. But if you did, I suppose, want something lighter and were happy to trade off a little bit of aerodynamics, then they have got the 62s and the 48s in the same range as well. Now there is one last thing, a little treat for you. Wheel bags! Yeah! Check it out, it's been a while. Right, enough of this tomfoolery. Down to the nitty gritty. I know you want to win these. How do you do it? Well, first things first, you need to enter the competition. And to get through to that, you need to click on the link in the description beneath this video. We'll announce the results in a forthcoming GCN show, so do make sure you subscribe to GCN, that way you're not going to miss it if you don't already. To do it, just click on the globe, and then if you're after some more content, well, we've got a really old one, but a good one. How important is aerodynamics? What is the fastest bike? A lightweight bike or an aero bike? That one is just down there. And then for one about, are wheels the best upgrade you can make to your bike? They definitely would be if you got these for free today, then click just down there.